In a previous video, I covered the entirety of Season 1 and the OVA movie of ReZero. So in continuation of my recap, today we'll be going over Season 2 Part 1 to get everyone ready for Season 3. If you enjoyed the video and want more anime content, feel free to leave a like and subscribe to the channel as well, it really helps. Also, let me know if you want me to do a recap for another series. Now Season 2 starts where Season 1 ended, just after Subaru and his group defeated Beetlejuice and the Witch Countess. However, when Subaru mentions Ram, Emilia doesn't know who she is, meaning that similar to what happened in Season 1, Ram's existence has been erased. We would find out how that happened as we briefly switch to Ram's perspective. It seems that when they were returning to the capital, Ram's convoy was attacked by two Sin archbishops, Lao Button Kaitos who represented the aspect of gluttony, and Regulus Corneus who represented the aspect of greed. Basically, Ram had a name and memories consumed by Lao, so everyone except for Subaru has forgotten about her, which left her in a comatose state. Rouge Carsten also had her memories eaten, but her name was left intact, so she was only suffering from amnesia. When they returned to the capital, Subaru tried to use his return by death to save Ram, but it was too late and it causes him to break down. Luckily, Emilia was able to comfort him and he promises to save Ram. Later that night, Subaru along with Emilia discussed about the future of their alliance with the Cruise Camp, and they decided to continue with their cooperation in hopes that one day they will get revenge against the witch cult. Following the discussion, Subaru's group returned to Arlem with the villagers, but when they arrived, it seems that Ram and the other half of the villagers haven't returned from the sanctuary. And not knowing the location of the sanctuary, Subaru, Emilia and the comatose Ram returned to the mansion, hoping to find some answers. At the mansion, they are greeted by FREDERICA, who used to be a maid of the mansion, but had apparently left for personal reasons and has now returned to work at Ram's request. Also, FREDERICA seems to have hired Petra to work as a maid at the mansion as well. In any case, FREDERICA informs Subaru and Emilia about the current situation and advises Subaru to get answers from Beatrice. The lolly spirit then tells Subaru that all the answers, including Roswaal's true intentions, the meaning of the witch's gospel and the wish factor of Beetlejuice can be found at the sanctuary. Thus, Subaru's group prepared to depart for the sanctuary, and before they left, FREDERICA gave Emilia a special necklace that allowed them to get past the forest barrier protecting the sanctuary. They eventually arrived at the lost woods of Clamaldi and the necklace started to glow, but sensing something ominous, Subaru quickly removes the necklace, which causes Emilia to fall unconscious while teleporting him to the middle of the forest. There, Subaru would follow a young girl who was actually a clone of Ryuzu Meyer into a stone temple, and once inside, he was transported to the Castle of Dreams where he would meet Echidna, the Witch of Greed. He briefly talked to the witch where a few notable things were revealed, like the name of the other witches, the sanctuary being the tomb for Echidna's soul, and the wish factor of Beetlejuice now resides within Subaru. He then decides to leave, and because Echidna found him to be quite interesting, she gave him the right to challenge the trial of the sanctuary. Back in the real world, we meet Garfield, FREDERICA's little brother who was currently attacking both Patrash and Otto. He also confronted Subaru, but after clearing the misunderstanding, he guides Subaru's group to meet with Ram and the others. When they arrive, they meet with Roswaal and we learn that the sanctuary is home and also a prison to demi-human half-breeds because the barrier surrounding the area prevents any of them from ever entering or leaving. That's why the demi-humans took the villagers from Arlem hostage so that Emilia will promise to overcome the trial of the sanctuary and free them. It's also the reason why Roswaal was heavily injured because he tried to take on the trial. Later, Subaru and Emilia meet with the villagers. She promises that she will save everyone, which allowed her to earn their respect. However, when Emilia tries to take on the trial, the light that surrounded the graveyard dissipated, so a worried Subaru rushes in to check on her. Inside, he manages to find the collapsed Emilia, but he was suddenly knocked out as well. When he awakens, he finds himself back in his old room, and here we are introduced to his father, who's built like a tank, and his quirky mother. After having breakfast with his family, Subaru and his father went outside to have a heart-to-heart. Subaru recalls that when he was younger, he used to be the best at everything, but as he grew older, he was no longer the best and was simply mediocre. This caused him to develop many insecurities as he tried extremely hard to become like his father, and even when he lashed out, his parents never once got angry because they still loved him, but he simply never realized. It's during their talk that Subaru manages to remember Emilia and the others, and after receiving his father's approval, he finally understands that they have always loved him and was able to face his past, so he breaks down crying. After their conversation, Subaru decides to finally go to school and he talks to his mother as well, learning that she always knew how he felt inside, which made Subaru emotional again. They eventually said their goodbyes, and once he reaches school, he's greeted by Echidna, and I do agree, she does look good in that uniform. She congratulates Subaru for overcoming the first trial, and he also thanks her for giving him the chance to have closure with his parents. She then reveals there are 3 trials in total, each having to face a different aspect of one's life, their past, present, and future. Back in the real world, Subaru wakes up to find Emilia, who briefly has a mental breakdown because of what she saw inside the trial. After Ram calmed Emilia down, the others try to figure out another way to escape the sanctuary without finishing the trials, but they're interrupted by BAUMANN, a clone of Roswaal and one of the guardians of the sanctuary. She goes on to explain that if any half-breeds try to escape with help from non-half-breeds, their soul will simply be ripped away and trapped inside the sanctuary. The next day, Emilia tries to take on the trial and fails yet again. Later that night, Subaru met with Roswaal and he berates Roswaal for not helping when the witch cultists attacked, but Roswaal soon reveals that he intentionally stayed away from the conflict so that Subaru and Emilia can get all the credit and to disprove the Wish of Envy rumors about her. This obviously angered Subaru, but he couldn't do anything about it, so 2 days would pass and he convinces Garfield to release the villagers. He returns to Alam village with them, but before leaving, Ram tells Subaru that if he encounters any trouble with FREDERICA, he should request help from Beatrice by telling her Roswaal said to ask the question. When they return to the village, Subaru visits the mansion to find it completely empty and we meet Elsa again. She kills him and he will wake up at his current save point, which is after he has completed his own trial. In this first reset, Subaru reveals that he has completed the first trial and offers to finish the trial for Emilia's sake, but it greatly offended Garfield and caused Emilia to be disappointed because she thought that Subaru doesn't trust her. With a bad hand, Subaru meets with Roswaal and asks him to convince Garfield to release the villagers while he returns to the mansion with Ram to find out what FREDERICA is planning. When they arrive at the mansion, Ram was given some time with Ram while Subaru confronts FREDERICA and she wasn't actually planning anything at all. Their conversation was then cut short when Elsa arrives with Petra, but they managed to rescue her and escape from Elsa. However, Ram and Beatrice were still inside, so FREDERICA transformed into a full beast form to distract Elsa, while Subaru along with Petra and Ram returned inside to save them. But they were separated when Ram was forced to fight against a demon beast, and later Petra would be killed by falling debris, leaving only an injured Subaru who encounters Elsa. As Elsa was about to kill him, Beatrice manages to save him. This angered Subaru because he wanted to reset, so he tries to kill himself again but was stopped by Beatrice. He then sees Beatrice holding a book similar to the Witch's Gospel and demanded answers from her, but she ignores him. Elsa soon enters the Forbidden Library and proceeds to kill Subaru, allowing him to reset. In this second reset, Subaru repeated what he did the first time, but before he has his conversation with Roswaal as usual, Garfield took him to a different location where Shima, another Ryuzu clone, was waiting. He was able to find out that because FREDERICA was only a quarter beastman, she was able to leave the sanctuary. But when Subaru reveals that he has completed the first trial, Shima orders Garfield to detain him because of the witch's miasma on him, and they suspected that he was with the witch cult. Thus, Subaru was held captive for 3 days before Otto manages to find him and they prepare to escape from the sanctuary with help from Ram and the Alam villagers. Before they escaped, Subaru confronts Roswaal about Beatrice, and we learn that the gospel she has is simply a grimoire called the Tomb of Wisdom that depicts the true future of the owner. He also teaches Subaru a new phrase to tell Beatrice, "I am that person," and using it will most definitely make her into his ally. So with Roswaal handled, they prepare to leave but is stopped by Garfield who chases after them in his full beast form. He eventually catches up to them and he'll kill Otto, Petrash along with the villagers that were helping Subaru. Subaru barely escaped thanks to FREDERICA's crystal which transported him away, but when he wakes up, he realizes that the sanctuary is snowing and everyone is gone. He then encounters a colony of horned bunnies called the Great Rabbits, one of the 3 great demon beasts, and they start to devour him alive, which kills him. He resets for a 3rd time and he was traumatized by the experience, but before he completely lost his mind, Echidna brings him into the Castle of Dreams and helps to stabilize his sanity. Then Subaru reveals his return by death to Echidna and he has another breakdown, although this time it was due to relief, because he finally found someone to share his experience with. Also, it seems that there is no limit to his death because it's tied to the delusions of Satella, the Wish of Envy, and how she wants him to stay alive no matter what. That said, after recovering his mental state, Subaru was trying to figure out a way to stop the Great Rabbits and defeat Elsa at Roswaal Manor. That's when Echidna suggests to summon the creator of the Great Rabbits, Daphne, the Wish of Gluttony, and ask her about them. Subaru agrees, so Echidna begins the summoning, but instead of Daphne, it was TYPHON, the Wish of Pride, that appears and she somehow shatters him into various pieces. Luckily, he was healed thanks to Minerva, the Wish of Wrath, and after she leaves, he finally meets with Daphne. During the meeting, they briefly argue about the morality of the great demon beast she created, and she eventually told him the Great Rabbits are attracted to mana, which was why they targeted the sanctuary. Also, because they share a single consciousness, the only way to defeat the rabbits is to destroy them all at the same time. With the information he needs, Echidna appears again, but their conversation is cut short because he was waking up in the real world. As payment for her services, Subaru gives Echidna the white handkerchief that Petra gave him, and before he leaves, Echidna states that if they meet for a third time, she has something important to tell him. Now back in the real world, Subaru finds that the graveyard was surrounded by darkness and the wish of envy appears to embrace him. Garfield suddenly arrives to save Subaru and informs him that everyone has been consumed by the darkness, so they try to escape from the witch. Garfield was eventually killed by the witch and Subaru was consumed by darkness, but thanks to the handkerchief that he offered to Echidna, he was able to kill himself. This causes the wish of envy to switch over to a Satella personality, and in his dying moments, he sees that Satella does resemble Emilia, so he vows to save her. Then we also see Roswaal in possession of a Tomb of Wisdom as well, and hints that he might know about Subaru's return by death ability. Now in this fourth reset, Subaru was shaking in fear after seeing Emilia, but still forces himself to wake her. And it seems that because he was the one that had a mental breakdown, this time Emilia wasn't overwhelmed by her own fears and still maintained her spirits. He manages to calm down thanks to Emilia, and for this reset, he was able to discover a few important information like the location where the original Ryuzu mayor was, and that he has become an apostle of greed, giving him the authority to command the Ryuzu clones. He also learns that the Ryuzu clones were created by Echidna 400 years ago to research about immortality. And throughout his resets, he has been talking to 4 different Ryuzu clones. The current one he was talking to was named Bulma. After his conversation with Bulma, Subaru bumps into Emilia who was having a stroll, and they both discuss what she encountered inside the trial and her anxiety. The following morning, Subaru leaves for the mansion but was stopped by Garfield, although he manages to convince Garfield to let him go. Arriving at the mansion, Subaru warns FREDERICA and Petra to leave with the comatose Ram while he confronts Beatrice in the Forbidden Library. He then discovers the Tomb of Wisdom that Beatrice has is completely blank and has stopped showing her future for many years. We also learn that she has a contract with Echidna to watch over the library until that person comes to free her, but after waiting for 400 years, Beatrice lost hope and simply wants to die, begging Subaru to end her suffering. However, their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Elsa, although Beatrice and Subaru managed to escape, only to be stopped by the Demon Beast user Melee, who was the same purple-haired girl we saw back in Season 1, and she has apparently killed everyone in the village. Elsa soon catches up to them, and with no place to run, Beatrice prepares to fight her, but she failed and was stabbed by Elsa. Before she died, she sent an injured Subaru back to the sanctuary, and when he awakens, it was snowing again, meaning the Great Rabbits were about to arrive. He also finds Emilia inside the graveyard, but it seems that without him around, she kept repeating the trial until she eventually lost her sanity, so Subaru was forced to leave where he encounters Garfield outside. They both went to confront Roswaal and he manages to kill both Ram and Garfield before revealing to Subaru that he has a Tome of Wisdom as well, and he knows about his return by death ability. The Great Rabbits soon arrive and Roswaal offers himself to the creatures, knowing that Subaru will simply correct all the mistakes that have happened. Subaru was partially devoured by the rabbits, but he was able to get away, only to find the crazed Emilia waiting, and they share their first kiss as Subaru dies. In his 5th reset, Subaru awakens and vows to protect Emilia and save everyone in the sanctuary as well as the mansion, so he decides to meet with Echidna to seek her advice. But he activated the 2nd trial instead, where we see flashes of the present in timelines where he has died and the impact he has on the people around him. The experience of reliving his past deaths almost destroys him mentally, so Echidna sends the wish of Last Camilla disguised as Ram to calm him down, and it briefly worked, but when he discovers the truth, he confronts Camilla and was transported to the Castle of Dreams. Since this was the 3rd time Subaru missed with Echidna, she reveals what she wanted to tell him. She wanted to form a contract with him and allow him to utilize her vast knowledge to help him solve any future problems that he will encounter. Just as Subaru was about to make the contract, the other witches appeared and warned Subaru about trusting Echidna. Thus, Echidna was forced to tell the truth. She wants to study Subaru, have him all to herself and learn everything there is to know about him, especially his return by death. Subaru was disgusted by Echidna, and before he made his decision, he asked Echidna about Beatrice, the contract they made, and who is the person she is waiting for. But seeing how Echidna was unconcerned about Beatrice wasting 400 years of her life waiting for someone that does not exist, Subaru was angered by this, so he declines her offer. Then the wish of envy Satella soon arrived. Having broken all the barriers to the Castle of Dreams, Subaru would confront Satella for all the suffering she has caused him because of his return by death. However, when she told him that she only wanted him to learn to love himself and that he deserves to be saved as well, this greatly angered him because it was clear that Subaru is someone that suffers from martyr complex. That's why he always believed that he doesn't deserve happiness, and that he is the only one that has to endure more pain and suffering than anyone else. And hearing Satella say that he deserves salvation basically equates to her calling him out for his complex. So unable to face the truth, he tries to kill himself and Minerva tries to stop him, but Segma and Typhon intervene as well because they wish to honor his resolve. But the other witches eventually stopped Typhon and they all worked together to save Subaru. Minerva revived him while Daphne prolonged his life, and Camilla subconsciously called out to him, making him realize the love from others that he failed to see. Subaru starts to question whether or not he actually deserves to be saved, and that if others would truly like him for who he is. Satella manages to convince him and even emphasize the point that she wants Subaru to love himself and find a future where he can be saved too. Now that he recovered his strength and resolve, Echidna offers the contract to him once again, but he rejects her, choosing to forge his own path without the sacrifices that comes with accepting her help. Before leaving the Castle of Dreams, he thanks all the witches for helping him, even if he finds it weird that they all decided to support him. He also takes Satella's hand where she asks him to find and kill her one day, but he promises to save her instead. When he awakens, he finds himself outside the graveyard alongside Petrash and Otto because Petrash apparently went inside to drag Subaru out herself, showing her true feelings for him, which made Subaru emotional. Subaru then tries to enter the tomb to check on Emilia, but he was rejected by Echidna. Likely because he rejected her offer, she really is quite a petty person. Regardless, Subaru decides to confront Roswaal, who is actually quite a lunatic, because he reveals that the assassins at the mansion, Emilia failing the sanctuary trials, and the arrival of the Great Rabbits were all orchestrated by him. The reason he did this was because he wanted to strengthen Subaru's resolve and turn him into the perfect version of Roswaal. He basically wants to force Subaru to choose only one option to save, either help Emilia overcome the trials and free the people of the sanctuary, or return to the mansion and save everyone from the assassins. This revelation mentally corners Subaru and he begs Roswaal to call off the assassins, but he refuses. Overcome by fear, Subaru runs away into the forest while denouncing Roswaal. Subaru has a mental breakdown inside the forest, but best boy Otto soon arrives to quite literally beat some sense into him, telling him to stop shouldering everything and learn to rely on others.
お前の敵は最強のカードになった。まだ不足があるかよ。
With that, Season 2 Part 1 ends, and I'll continue Part 2 in another video because there's just too much to cover. Now let me know what you think of Part 1 and whether or not the storylines met your expectations. Also, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like, and to know when the recap for Part 2 will be out, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification button to stay updated. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay safe everyone.